of the Page County School Board?
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
Ms. Boucher.
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes.
All present.
Please pause for a minute of silence as we prepare for the meeting today. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Fox, do we have any agenda changes or additions?
I do not.
I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Overfelt to approve the agenda.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
Ms. Alger.
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Let me get my agenda here. I'm sorry.
I would like to certify that in closed session tonight, we spoke about personnel matters discussed in closed session according to section 2.2-3711A1A8.
We have a motion by Ms. Sullivan Smith and a second by Ms. Alger to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session.
Ms. Alger.
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes. Any citizen comment? I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Overfelt and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Overfelt.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
Ms. Alger.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Newton, Conservation Education Teacher of the Year presentation. First on the agenda.
So, my name is Charlie Newton. I'm a director of the Shenandoah Valley Soil and Water Conservation District that covers Page, Shenandoah, and Page County, City of Harrisonburg, and Rockingham counties. The other director from Page County is Jimmy Burke, who some of you may know was the baseball coach and science teacher at Page County High School. So the Soil and Water District, for those of you who don't know, is a political subdivision of the state, a lot like school boards are. We're elected to 4-year terms, just like you are. Unlike you, we are unpaid volunteers. But all the work is done by a staff that are paid. We are just the directors and board to review and guide the staff. So soil and water districts around the state are charged with implementing conservation programs designed to help improve soil and water. And in addition, though, the district implements various outreach and educational programs and supplements classroom teaching with support for things like meaningful watershed education experiences and other interactive presentations, such as some of you might know about Envirothon competitions. A couple of our schools have, over the years, done those. The soil, I already told you which counties and cities were in our district. We are supported by state funding, and we also rely on funding from our localities. We ask for help from our localities. And Page County has been contributing, and our ongoing efforts to educate both students and adult citizens and others about the importance of water quality and best management practices that can protect those precious natural resources. So annually, our Soil and Water District recognizes the teacher who incorporates conservation education into their curriculum, and we recognize them with this Conservation Teacher of the Year award. Awards are given in two categories, a K through 5 and a 6 through 12. So information regarding the nominations and the opportunity to be nominated is sent out to school employees, including principals, teachers, and curriculum leaders. So we try to distribute it widely so that lots of people have a chance to participate. This year's Conservation Teacher of the Year award for the 6th through 12th grades here in Page County is presented to Lynn Schwartzlander. Ms. Schwartzlander has been an educator for 30 years and currently serves as a science teacher at Page County Middle School. Ms. Schwartzlander goes above and beyond to bring conservation education into her classroom at the middle school. Students get to build a model of their home and analyze how they can conserve energy. She has had her students involved in recycling, growing aloe vera and other succulents, and so much more. Ms. Schwartzlander works hard to find appropriate ways to get students outside and provides them with hands-on learning, such as testing the water quality at the Shenandoah River. She's had students walk through the Page County Middle School Nature Trail and analyze potential sources of water pollution there. So just very deserving teacher. And my presentation is a plaque on Walnut. And Ms. Schwartzlander, if you come up.
She
is not going to be here.
Yeah, unfortunately, she couldn't, but what we'd like to do is get you to the school one day if possible with her and the principal. We'll
Okay.
take some pictures. Would that be doable for you?
We'll try to do that. Yeah, that would be in the fall you're talking about?
When, probably when teachers come back in mid-August.
Okay,
That way we can get it, make sure it's done.
all right,
And then we can post that on our webpage and we'll be happy to provide you with the pictures.
okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Fox?
Yes. So for this evening, we have one more award that we want to share with you. And this is a second of our VSBA Art Contest winners. So joining Mrs. Gordon up front, Carly, would you come on up, please? And this is her picture. Yep. So Carly is currently. Yeah. Smile pretty. So Carly is currently, she's a rising 5th grader. So if you can believe that picture she drew as a 4th grader. So we are excited as what she's going to do as she grows older. She's a rising 5th grader at Stanley Elementary School, and she's been awarded 2nd place in the Virginia School Board Association's regional art competition. Her piece was judged against many, many other entries from the Valley region. And we just want to congratulate you, Carly. And she is here tonight with all of her family, her mom and her dad, and her brothers and sisters. So congratulations, Carly. We're very proud of you.
Where is it going to hang the picture?
Carly, do you know where you're going to hang the picture?
Hard to do it.
Okay. Well, if you need any help, we'll hang it up here for you for a little while if you want to. So you can let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate the
Good work.
Yep, nice job.
Congrats.
So review of the minutes for April 2024 and May 2024 posted. There for review for the next meeting. And Dr. Fox, athletic information.
Yes, thank you, Board. So earlier, a little while ago, you all had asked for some additional information on athletics related to the budget. And so we've got an update for you tonight that not only includes some budget information, but also just some general to give you an idea of how our athletic programs are structured around the division and in the region and in the state. So Paul and Patty are going to chime in and help as needed as well, because they are both not only experienced in this world, but they're also parents of students who participate in our athletic program. So I've asked them to chime in as needed as well. So we are under the Virginia High School League umbrella. So that's the Alliance of Virginia's public and approved non-boarding, non-public high schools that promotes education, leadership, character, and citizenship for students by establishing and maintaining high standards for school activities and competitions. VHSL maintains the eligibility and the standards of play for 27 different sports, 14 for girls, 13 for boys, and 12 academic activities, and we'll walk you through what those are. Across the state, there's nearly 174,000 students who participate in VHSL activities and more than 22,000 academic activities. So that's our large umbrella. In terms of our district and our region, we are a part of what's called the Bull Run District, which is Group 2A. And groups and classifications are decided by student enrollment and how many kids you have participating. So the list there of who participates in the Bull Run District. So those are when we say the beginning of every season, we're participating in district competitions. We might travel outside of our district and have a non-district team. You'll see sometimes then the win-loss record will say district, non-district. That's what it means. And then when you make it to the regional level, we are right now part of the 2B region for tournament play. So that's the Bull Run District, the Dogwood District, which is Buckingham County, and then the Shenandoah District, which is Fort Defiance, Riverheads, and Stewart Strat. So then you start traveling a little bit. And then the state, you travel even more for those state competitions, and usually they're at central sites once you reach the quarterfinal and semifinal levels. In terms of what do we offer in Page County for our 2 high schools and then our middle schools, these are the sports that we offer broken down by seasons. So you can see there the different sports. I will say to you right now that the wrestling in the winter sports, wrestling is currently only at Page County High School. We have a proposal out for you tonight where we would expand that to include Luray High. And winter track or indoor track is currently only at Luray High. And we have a proposal for that to expand to Page High so that both schools will have both of those sports in the coming year. And then at your middle school, we do, 8th graders can participate in JV activities at the VHSL level. So 6th and 7th grade would participate in other activities, or some 8th graders, like we have 8th grade basketball, they could participate in that and not the JV. And so that's a list of the sports that we offer at the middle school level in those various seasons. Any questions about the sports or anything you guys want to add about either of those?
You covered it well. We're well, students were well record participation information.
You're going to see a percentage later on about the participation rate, and it is very good. So VHSL does the athletic side, but then they also have the academic side. So they have more than these, but these are the ones that we currently participate in. So Scholastic Bowl, think of that like your Jeopardy competition. So teams compete against each other in a trivia type of atmosphere. Debate is debate. They go at different topics and debate each other on that. Forensics, students compete in a variety of like speech and dramatic readings and events, including storytelling, poetry, prose, interpretation, impromptu or extemporaneous speaking, and original oratory. And that's what Izzy participated in, the forensic state competition with some of her classmates. And then theater one acts are students pick a one act of a play and they present it and they go and compete against other schools in the theater world. So different activities for kids, but those are all VHSL. So students still have to meet those eligibility and residential requirements like any student who would play a sport. In terms of participation, this chart just shows you the different levels of participation. So this is just 7th through 12th grade student athletes. This does include your academic activities as well. So you can see that we have some students choose only to do one activity or one sport. Some choose to do 2, and some are doing 3. We do have a student who does 4 because they're doing a season, they're a cheerleader, and in this cheerleading season, they're doing sideline cheer and competition cheer. And so that would count as 4. We just kept it simple to keep the 3 here because I ran out of space in the slide. So the next line that you see there, the total number of individuals participating. So if you take all those kids, and if they're participating in 3 sports, they count as 1 kid. So you can see there at Luray High School, there's 255 students that are participating in a variety of activities. Page County High is 207. The last line there is the total number of athletes competing. So you take all the sports, that student now who participates in 3 sports, you count them 3 times. Okay. So that's the total number of athletes that are competing across all of the seasons and all of the activities. Does that part make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
So looking at participation rate, then 43% of our current 7th through 12th graders are participating in some kind of athletic or academic activity.
Pretty high.
Pretty high. So 43%. Any questions there? All right, so how do we make all of that happen? So athletics and activities are a combination of division level funding and then student activities funding. Typically your gate cost when you pay to get into a game, that's helping fund some of the activities and things that happen at the school. For us, at the division level, the expenses are coming at the administrative salaries and benefits. So that's things like your athletic directors and your trainers. At your middle school level, there's a portion of the assistant principal salary that's built in because they are the athletic director at the middle school level. We do pay VHSL dues for them, and those only are for the high school because you don't have middle schools technically aren't members of VHSL. Coaches' salaries and benefits, those are the totals across all 3 seasons for all coaches that get paid. We pay those at the division level. So you can see the totals there. So as of right now, the division is paying about $500,000 towards athletic activities. Now that doesn't count the money that we're spending in transportation to travel kids to and from. It's not counting the money that we do pay in maintenance to do some of the maintenance that's required. But at the same time, we also want to say thank you to our athletic boosters and to our community, because when they come to events and they pay to get in to a basketball game or a football game, those gate fees are helping pay things like the referees or the umpires. They're helping pay for things like uniforms or some of the equipment that might be needed for those activities. So it's really, truly a joint cooperative effort between the booster groups, the schools, and the division.
And then, if I may, so there are times that we have expenditures over this, and that's like when we do lighting on fields or we resurface a track. Those are pretty
So
significant.
that's that little line at the bottom there. You'll see that funding for athletic facility upgrades, so fields, lights, restrooms, floors,
Okay.
major equipment, that's included in our upcoming capital improvement plan
Gotcha.
for you, because those are such significant expenses, like to resurface a gym floor is upwards of $25,000. Those would be capital projects.
Okay.
So I've been approached by parents out there that maybe an AD or someone associated with the sports programs have said that it's up to the school board says yes or no if something gets fixed in an athletic field or a bathroom. And we rarely have somebody come here and ask us for a request to fix something. And we also have the boosters. So the boosters raise money that's outside of the 497,373, right? And what does that money do?
So boosters are going to do things like buy students T-shirts or uniforms. When Page High recently did their softball, the new pitching batting tent, that was done with booster funds. So think of it like this, and you can help me out. Booster is a totally separate, those funds don't run through the school division. They are their own 503C, and they are responsible for their own bookkeeping. So they essentially can decide what they want to do. But if you're going to do things that alter our facilities in any kind of way, that comes before you. So if you recall, Mr. Simmons and Mr. Kale came and they talked about the softball structure before it was done. Then you have student activity funds, which are when you come to a game and you pay. Those monies are run through the school division, but they're kept at the school level. And the principal and the athletic director have discretion on how that money is spent. But again, if anything is over $1,000, they still have to follow procurement, which means they have to get quotes. Anything over $10,000 comes here through the, your approval for that. So that is the approval level essentially of those bigger things are going to come through you all.
And that activity fund is also, is there still a fee associated with playing a sport? That goes to that activity fund too.
Maybe the greatest image, I think, to your question, Anna, might be the uniforms. I think the boosters typically fundraise, and the schools are on a schedule. This year it might be girls basketball, trying to get new uniforms, and maybe baseball next year, a few other sports. And so the schools are on rotating schedule to get new uniforms, because obviously there can't be new uniforms every year for everybody. And the boosters support that. And that's a tremendous cost. It really is.
So I'm gonna give you a specific. So I'm at a Blue Ray baseball game watching my cousin Connor pitch. Okay, so the netting comes down, and there's a baseboard that netting's tied to that goes up. That baseboard needs paint. And I look at it and I say, well, why aren't we doing that? Well, they're saying because you're not doing it. So how does those kind of things get done?
That would start with a request at the school level. So the coach or the athletic director, somebody would say, hey, that needs painting. And it should get turned in as a work order.
Okay.
And then we would get it on a summer project list most likely.
Okay. So you know all the boosters are out there listening to you, right?
Well, and not just the boosters, but also like, first the athletic director or the coaches notice things that need to happen, on their fields. And then, okay.
So another good example, the track lines at Page Middle are just about paid, almost the same example.
Right.
Lots of use by PE because that sits like next to the middle school. So again, once that got noticed and turned in and got put on the CIP plan, budget cycle, and it would go this summer, that track is going to get resolved. So very similar.
Okay.
But it has to make it to the maintenance department in order to get planned and budgeted and all of that.
So do you ever get a call from a booster or a parent?
Yeah.
I mean, they're typically communicating with your principals and your ADs. We did meet recently with some boosters and had a conversation about something.
I can give you an example of one call that I got about 2 years ago that created a major change for the good, and that was our softball rights. That came, I think that first call came through my office and started the conversation. And, but it's not typical that I've gotten calls on athletic facilities.
So repairs to athletic facilities is not its own line item. For us, it's built into our operations and maintenance. So those things then get prioritized with everything else. Like, I'm sure you could talk to any principal tonight and they'll tell you there's parts of their buildings that they want painted. So all of that has to get prioritized within that O&M budget that we have.
So it's not always that the request hasn't already been submitted. It's just not, maintenance hasn't gotten to it because there's other things that are taking precedence.
Could be the auditorium carpet at the school might, when you're looking at priorities and what can you do with the money you have on a given year, those big projects, it could be.
So who prioritizes this project within the school? The principal?
That's through the budget process, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and at the school level, yeah, the principal and the AD, if it's an athletic, the principal's going to be the one, that if a teacher comes to them and says, I need X, Y, or Z, they're going to say, we'll submit a work order for that, or they'll say, I'll get the custodian to do it, or it might be something that the AD and the principal say, we'll get our boosters to take care of it. And then if
Okay,
it gets
so-
in the work order process, it comes through.
So any.
So let me explore that a little bit. You said they talk to the AD and sometimes they may get the boosters to do it. So sometimes the boosters actually improve our facilities?
Yeah, like
Yes.
last year, you heard when they came to talk, they did some work on the bathrooms at Bulldog Hill. Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
I don't like that. I mean, we should be doing that kind of work. We just don't currently have a line item in the budget for that. Now, as we move forward with the CIP that you're going to see in about a month, there are things in there that are athletic related for upgrades.
But can I interject real quick? I have kids that have gone to play in college, and the boosters upgrade facilities even at Division I college level. Now, those boosters carry a lot more money,
Right.
and they can make a lot more changes. But Maddie's locker room just got upgraded from boosters.
And I was going to say, we are the beneficiary of a tremendous community, and we all know that. We've seen it. I can think about Alan Knight Field when I was principal there 15 years ago to what it is today. And that came on the backs of parents, boosters, community. The same at Luray with the softball field behind their school. You can think of the drivers 12 years ago that got that field done. But I think to your point, we would love to have the funding to say we can do this, 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 and this, but our community has, the participation rate is because kids are proud, community is proud, and kudos to the community who've done that over the years. It's been amazing.
But any maintenance, I mean, aside from athletics, I mean, just the school itself, that is prioritized by the principal.
Yes and no. I mean, the principals are putting in the work orders. And then those come to the maintenance department, and then those get prioritized. Can we do it in-house? Is it, what's the scale and the scope of it? What's the cost of it? Or is it something we have to outsource and get a vendor to do? If we can send a maintenance worker there the next day and get it taken care of, that's obviously our first choice. But it may be that it requires a vendor service, or it might be something that's a project we have to say is to wait till the summer because we can't shut down something or we can't do it when kids are in the building. So I think there's a variety of, a whole bunch of different conversations that go into something. I will say that we have switched over to a new system for our work orders. It's going to be all electronic and a little bit different. So when we bring CIP to you, we're going to explain all of that to you. I think that system will help us be a little more efficient in how we move through those different work orders as we get things done. I'd love for us, Mr. Painter, to be able to say we have a line item for uniforms every year, and we have a line item for, the hurdles that one of the schools needs to be replaced, and those are major expenses. They're not, I'd love for us to be able to say that we do all of that stuff. Some of it has to go to the CIP, and we're going to ask the county to help us with some of that. You look at, I think you told me hurdles are somewhere around $25,000, $30,000. To replace a set of hurdles. I mean, you only have to do that every 10 to 15 years, maybe 20 if you can squeak them out. But those are major expenses that we have to
I just think,
about.
facilities, painting that forward, I mean, that's easy stuff. It's just got to get processed. It's low hanging fruit that makes everybody feel good about it.
People also have to let us know. Not on
Absolutely.
Facebook and not.
Well, I've already sent messages to some boosters. Hey, you need to watch our meeting tonight. So
I mean, the chain of command there would be talk to the coach,
good.
Talk to the AD, talk to the principal. Those are your lines. There's all of our boosters have an executive board, so there's a president. That president is typically the one that's communicating with the AD and the principal. So a parent of a student who plays a sport, they can go either to the principal or they can go to the president of the athletic booster. And let's have those conversations. We're not opposed to having those conversations.
Good.
The more we know, the better we can be, right?
That's
But
right.
I want people to also understand every conversation doesn't mean it's going to happen. Because again, we have to prioritize. There's only so much money in our bucket. And because we have to prioritize, it also doesn't mean that we don't care about that thing. We just we might not be able to do that thing right now. We might be able to get to it a little bit later, but it doesn't mean we don't care about it.
And the clear communication from us is important. So everybody's on the same understanding.
So we're going to bring to you in the budget tonight, you're going to see two proposals that we've added in as sort of new requests to this budget. One is going to be for an increase in the salary for our coaches, because that hasn't happened for at least a decade. And the other is going to be to add 2 sports to the high school rotations. So you'll see those.
Now, we're talking coaches that are paid, because we have assistants that are not paid.
Paid the salaried one, that line item right there that says coaches' salaries and benefits. We're proposing to you all in this amendment to use a little bit of that extra money from the state to cover that. Because in fairness to them, that has not been increased for a long time. Because we don't include them when we do our normal percentage raises, we weren't able to.
And just so everyone knows as well, before we get there, you might have to send your presentation, so I apologize. we can do that with the state money because athletics at the state level are considered instructional athletics. So those coaches are paid out of the instruction function of our budget. Because these kids are supposed to be learning and developing, not just to be the best next football player or whatever.
No, it's great. It's leadership, team building. I mean, there's,
Right, so that
Character
is
building.
how that
Yeah.
state funding, I just want to make that clear,
Resilience.
is
Yeah.
able to be used for coaching salaries, is because coaches are paid under state code as instructional leaders. Just as well.
it's good to know.
Superintendent's update, Dr.
Yeah.
Flores?
Sorry, you got to hear from me again. So update tonight just has a variety of different things for you. As we kind of close out 2023-24, it's hard to believe that we're saying that because July 1 is Monday. So Ms. Seacrest and her crew of new financial year starts on Monday. They have been working tirelessly and many, many hours over the last month to get everything ready, not only for us to transition to spend those remaining ESSER funds, but also to, the audit process begins for them. So they've been gathering all of the documentation for that. So Ms. Seacrest, to you and your little mighty crew over there, thank you all very much for all you've done. But new money starts on Monday. So we did conclude our first summer program session today, believe it or not. I can't believe that it's the end of June. We feel like we were just at graduation. So our Elementary Academic Academy, the first one, we had Luray and Shenandoah Elementary Schools, and then our K-12 Sports and Rec Summer Camp and our K-12 STEM Summer Camp. Those both concluded today. We'll get you numbers of how many kids participated at the next meeting. So summer session number 2 starts the week after next. There are no classes next week because it's a holiday week and most people are gone. So we take a week off, and then session number 2 will start on Monday, July 8th, and that runs through Thursday, July 18th. So we'll offer again the elementary academic. It'll be at Luray and Shenandoah. The K-12 Arts and Cultural Summer Camp will be at Page County High School, and the K-12 Environmental Summer Camp will be at Luray. The middle and high school academic programs, those are continuing through the entire stretch from when we started June 18th, I believe it was, through July 18th. And those are more some credit recovery and academic support types of things. So those continue for the entire duration of the 2 sessions where we run the elementary. So just a thank you to those staff who helped make those sessions happen, the teachers, the aides, the administrators, custodians, food services, transportation, parents for having their kids participate in those programs. So thank you to everybody for making that happen. So 2 things that we want to kind of celebrate about our ESSER 3. So that's the American Rescue Plan, the ESSER 3 that we talk about a lot, is that larger grant that we got in its COVID relief. Well, all of that now is expired as of Friday. Is it Friday? Technically Saturday.
It's the month.
Yeah, so all of that money is now, we're done with it. And I'm happy to share that we are at zero. We will have spent our $6,318,995.49 has been expended. We're working on the last little reimbursements. We have until September 30th to input all of those in the state system. But we also recently went through, Ms. Seacrest, Ms. Burton, and myself, we did every school division was required to go through federal monitoring. So they have this big, long list of all these things you have to produce to show documentation that you did what you were supposed to do. So we gathered all that documentation, and then you meet with somebody from the state and you walk through it together. We finally got our letter, which we had been waiting for, and it was that all of our monitored programs and activities under ESSER 3 met all of the program requirements. So that's synonymous to, in her world, a clean audit. So we were very relieved and excited to get that
great.
letter.
Good job.
Because that's good. We've said this many times in our discussions. I, as a superintendent, have absolutely loved having ESSER money, but none of us have loved the paperwork and the other part of it because it's very intense. And so we'll miss the money, but we won't miss all that extra stuff that came with it. But definitely thank you to Ms. Seacrest, Ms. Burton, the financial staff for doing that. The things that you see in the hallway are some of the purchases that now need to go out to schools that were made in the last part with some of those. And then the next slide just gives you an idea of some of the things. It's not all of the things, it's just a sampling of some of the things that we have been able to get in our division. And again, this has been a godsend to our division because we've been able to get things that we would have never been able to afford otherwise. Some technology, the HVAC work that's been done. We've been able to put positions in place. We've been able to provide tutoring, student study chairs at each of our schools, computer science training for staff, reading, math, science, social studies, STEM, instructional materials and supplies. Teachers gave us wish lists and pretty much everything they put on there, they got. And so we're just excited to have been able to do a lot of these things, and there were many. We've been able to buy more vehicles. The hard part was we couldn't get more buses because of the delays with that. So we supplemented by replacing and getting new wheelchair handicap access vans, new activity buses that can be used in lieu of full-blown school buses for activities and things. So I think we're very happy and pleased with the things we were able to get. So we will give you a full report of all of those things once all that reporting is done. But as of right now, we will not be able to say, we'll just put that under ESSER 3. Those days are now. So one of the things that we are excited to say that we did get from this is this school year, we will be putting a phone in every single teacher's classroom. We've been trying to do this for a while now, and we found a way through ESSER funding to be able to make it happen. So Mr. Samples and his team, again, a small but mighty team, will be putting in over 300 phones between now and early fall. So every classroom will have its own phone, it will have its own phone number, and it will have voicemail capability. So there'll be direct access to staff. Staff will now be able to, during their planning periods, have private conversations with parents. So it's going to increase that ability for us to communicate. If there's an emergency, they now have a phone to be able to dial out and directly to the main office with that. So we're excited about this. I think when teachers come back and find out that this is waiting for them, I think they'll be excited as well. So again, ESSER 3 funding was used to do that, to buy the actual phones and to buy some of the additional switches that were needed because we're increasing the number of devices within each school. So we'll say thank you in advance to Mr. Samples and his team because they'll go do the legwork now of getting them all placed in the classrooms and ready to go. And then you have a copy in front of you this evening. We just have an updated organizational chart for you that just lists sort of how things operate you all as a school board, from me to down to some of the other positions. And then we've included something new that's new for you is the addition of at the schools, what are principals supervising in terms of their roles, and who are they evaluating? And you'll see there we've added in the athletic directors and the athletic trainers. There are two things I'd like to, just for simplicity's sake, to make things a little bit easier and not quite so cumbersome. I'd like to request that we change the title of Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Assessment and Innovation to just Assistant Superintendent of Instruction. It's inherent in the instructional world now that accountability falls under that. And if we're not being innovative, we're not doing anything. So it's not a big deal if you don't want to do that. It just makes the title a little bit easier to manage, and it's not quite a mouthful when Dr. Huber will have to introduce himself. The other is just to align our director titles, is to change Mr. Samples' title. It's just a title change. It's not a contract status change, nothing like that. It's just changing literally the title from Division Technology Officer to Director of Technology. That puts it in line with our other director positions, which are all Director of. So unless you have any objections to that, take a look at this. If you let me know if there's anything you want to change. It isn't something you have to vote on or approve. It's something that we just maintain, and we will place it on our website and update it accordingly.
This isn't a policy or anything, right?
No,
Not referencing.
it just helps people sort of understand the structure of how things are laid out. So if you have suggestions, or it's not clear, or you want something done a different way, it is a little bit different than the previous one. We've done it more horizontally rather than vertically. So just let us know if it's not clear or you want to change something, we can easily work through any questions. So the last thing I have for you tonight is just to save the date for our summer graduation. We are likely going to have a couple of students that we will want to recognize and honor just as we do any other students. So that's tentatively set right now for Thursday, August 1st at 6 o'clock at Page County High School. Those students are here now in those summer sessions working. So as long as they meet those requirements and things, we'll be happy to have a ceremony for them and honor them. And we do the whole march in, the pomp and circumstance speech, the handing of the diploma and the marching out, and then we have some cake and punch. So just mark that down if you're available. We'd love to have you all join us for that event. Any questions?
Yeah, graduation rates, we used to monitor, they used to be a big deal. And I don't see that rate that often. We don't talk about it as much. So where are we, are we,
We're still
where we were, or?
Yeah, we're still in the upper to mid 90s. We'll bring you that. That's all being calculated right now at the state level. Dr. Huber, one of his first presentations to you in July is going to be that whole accountability timeline of when the state finalizes those data points and when they're released publicly, that we can then share them with you. I'll send you last year's. I think Ms. Ryman did them maybe at our board retreat in the summer and referenced them, but I can send you the last couple of years. But we're holding steady in the mid to upper 90s.
Yeah.
At those
Well,
rates.
I think it would be nice to see like since maybe 2019, to get an idea where we're staying, or
What time's graduation again on the first?
16.
6, okay, because we have a
The retreat.
retreat
on
that
that
day.
day.
We'll get you that data, Mr. Freeman.
thank you.
We have the board retreat
Right,
on the 1st.
Yeah, yeah.
9 to
So
1.
you have the 31st, you have a board meeting that evening.
Right,
The next morning, you have the board retreat. That'll
right, then
end
we'll
by
have
1,
graduation.
and then graduation
Okay,
that
good.
evening.
Well, I just want to
It's
make sure
busy
I
time.
knew to bring my sleeping bag.
Yeah.
We'll have donuts.
We'll give you
Oh,
coffee.
okay, good, donuts, yeah.
Lots of coffee, lots of coffee.
All right, I'm good with that.
Before we head into our action items, Mr. Newton would like to speak for public comment, citizen comment. Is anybody opposed to that?
No?
You okay with that? So we're going to jump back up there.
I'd mentioned this idea to a couple of the board members before the meeting, and I thought I'd ask Superintendent Fox and your administrative folks whether we've considered applying for electric school buses, because diesel buses just put out all kinds of stuff that's not good for developing children. I mean, it's not that great for adults, but for the younger people, it really isn't. And I understand that there are some grant rounds available again.
I'm going to defer to Dr. Johnson, because yes, we have, and he can walk you through what we've done.
So yes, we applied, the large grant that was available probably 12, 15 months ago.
Yeah,
We went through the
right,
whole process
right.
and we didn't get it.
Right.
And our transportation team, our supervisor, and clerk were in North Carolina last week at a transportation hub that produces them. And we have a contact that's going to help us go after it again.
Very good. I hope they're
We'd
successful.
love to get some of those.
Yeah, yeah. Save some money too, if you don't have to replace diesel buses.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Sechrist, you are up with approval of claims for payment.
Yes, good evening, board members. You have been provided with the claim certification where the operating expenditures are $941,957.29. Capital projects expenditures, $29,727. Food service expenditures, $58,942.35. For total expenditures of $1,030,626.64. Along with that, you have the list of claims as well as the check registers. If you have any questions, we do have that.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the claims for payment as presented.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
Ms. Alger. Yes. Mr. Whitcomb.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Up again, Ms. Seacrest.
Yes, good evening again. We have several purchase orders for your consideration over 10,000 this evening. Obviously, they are not for this year. They are for FY25, which will start on Monday. These are a lot of our service agreements, utilities, things like copier leases, and our insurances, that sort of thing. So if you have any questions, we might be able to answer those as well. These are pretty standard with what you will see as well as the 10% increase that's proposed in the budget amendment to just consider standard inflation of what we're seeing in the economy.
So which of the CenturyLink bills up there include the new classroom telephones? Are they included in this?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Sanders.
Feeling, especially the $175,000 one referred to, is our land service.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the network connection between all of our schools.
Okay.
The CenturyLink and Lumen one that's for about 43,000 is for our internet services that serve the whole division. And we do have the $19,200 one. Those are the zip trunks. Those are our IP phone services that help us do like 911.
Right.
And then we got other phone services that are sort of various. There's CenturyLink for things like fax lines and alarm lines. So it's all sort of tied in, but they're separate accounts, which is why they're listed out there.
Okay, just to make sure I'm clear. So the 300 lines, 300 phone lines we've got, are they in any of those?
So the phones that we've got are going to be IP phones, and they're going to run with all of the services that we have on here. The money that was used for Nasdaq to buy the phones, that's just the phones themselves.
Sure, right.
So there are additional licenses that we'll be bringing a purchase order to you here in the next coming meeting. To be buying the licenses to actually service those phones.
Okay,
On our
okay.
system.
So that money for those communication needs has not been
Correct.
presented. Okay, that's where I'm at. Okay.
Like, just for clarity, IP is,
Internet protocol.
Yeah,
so there'll be a little bit more expense because of the new lines, but, and then the switches are the actual physical devices that allow those lines to now, we have 50, now we're going to go to 100.
right. And so we're projecting our heating oil prices or cost based on historical data. Are we getting any better with our in the fuel costs and so forth with our improvements we're making in the schools as far as insulation and new windows, all those kind of things?
Yeah, good question. So we showed a presentation a couple of months ago where we were able to show the electric, particularly the electric bills. Really, it's mind-blowing how low they are compared to, we went back to the 2016 performance contract and we did building
Right.
envelopes and all of the seals and all of that. And then the Cheneville Electric shared with us where we're at with our monthly bills versus where we should be had we not done all of that. So yeah, we're expenditures on those energy costs are significantly lower than had we not done that. And the HVAC upgrades that we've done in the last 2-3 years. Yeah.
I just think it's important that for anybody who's listening or watching, they understand that we've made a lot of improvements and we're actually monitoring these expenditures very, very closely because heating fuel costs, I'm afraid they're going to go much higher. Depends. It all depends. But yeah, I remember the presentation you provided showed it in a tremendous savings just in lighting alone. That was pretty fascinating. So we also have our own in-source or in-house water testing personnel, right? So are we still paying him Moden?
So the person that we have, Dawn Liscombe, is a specialist in water testing. She pulls the samples, she does some of the testing, but there's some of that have to be delivered to the labs.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Good to know.
That heating fuel is for the whole year? Really? It's interesting how they, between schools, each got a bill, and I only have 31,000 difference. LHS and PCHS, 8,000. I can see that. Very interesting.
Is our insurance costs that we're talking about here, that includes the 11% increase?
That is,
I'm sorry, what was your?
Sorry, I got you off guard.
We'll
It
talk
was a
about
test
it
question.
one time.
That's VACOR, and now the 11% is the employee health.
Well, then what's
That's our
VACOR?
liability. and
Liability?
structured
Building,
insurance.
All
yeah.
right,
vehicle insurance. So where you'll see the health insurance will be in the amended board update tonight,
okay, good.
or excuse me, amended budget update tonight.
Is that also going to include the, maybe I'm a little bit ahead of the game here, but did we buy all the systems, the GPS systems that we were going to put on the vehicles to track? Is that all?
Yes, the
That's
one
done?
we bought enough for the cars and the vans and the trucks but we didn't go buses and all of that. So
Right.
yes.
But we've got them all in basically our staff support vehicles.
Yes, sir. We track those regularly, the mechanics and the transportation folks and just the way we're constantly looking at those things.
I know that was a big issue for I think the Board of Supervisors was very interested in that. But I think that's good. It's going to save us more money.
I will make a motion that we approve the purchase orders over $10,000 as presented.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Painter, and second by Mr. Overfelt to approve the purchase orders over 10,000 as presented.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. Dr. Johnson, adult meal prices?
Yes, good evening, members of the board. At our last meeting, Mrs. Jeffries brought these prices to you. You couldn't be here tonight, but we would ask for your approval for the 24-25 proposed adult breakfast and lunch prices. Breakfast price at $275 and the lunch price at $465. And again, those are for adults, not students. It's going to be clear on that.
Make a motion to approve the
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Overfelt to approve the adult meal prices.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Thank you. Mr. Bell, policy updates?
Good evening, board members. As an informational item, at the last meeting, you were presented with several policies for review, revision, or addition, and tonight we're asking for approval of those policies.
I make a motion, we approve the policies as presented at our last meeting and presented by Mr. Bell.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Overfelt and a second by Mr. Painter to approve the policy updates.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell. Dr. Fox, student school board representation?
Yes, I'm happy to bring this to you tonight, but on Wednesday, June 19th, School Board Vice Chairman Sullivan Smoot and School Board District 4 Representative Mr. Dwayne Painter interviewed 3 students from Luray High School who had submitted applications to be considered for the student school board representative position for the next 2 years. From those applications, Bridget Dudley, a rising junior, was selected. And we want to say thank you to all of the students who showed interest in those positions and took the time to submit applications. This past March, you all approved an update to the PCPS policy BBBB. Say that 10 times fast. I practiced that last night for you. You amended the length of the term to move it from 1 year to 2 years. So Sebastian Bush, who was the representative from Page County High School last year, he's now a rising senior. He has agreed to stay on for his second year. So with the approval of that, you now have him and you have Bridget. So we ask the board tonight to approve the selection of Bridget Dudley and Sebastian Bush as the student representatives on the school board for 2024.
Make a motion, we approve the student school board representative.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Ms. Bryant to approve the student school board representatives.
Yes.
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 Yes. Dr. Fox, calendar adjustment?
Yes, thank you. So I bring to you for approval, we talked about this last month, or excuse me, last meeting, but asking for your approval of the addition of those 4 early release days to provide additional time for professional learning for teachers, especially in light of the Virginia Literacy Act requirements that have come down. So asking for your approval tonight, and then we will publish and push that out publicly.
I make a motion that we approve the calendar adjustment as shared tonight.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Mr. Overfelt to approve the calendar adjustment?
Yes.
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 Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Ms. Sechrist, reallocation of 2024 funds?
Yes, good evening, board. I will read into the record a resolution. I also have another one for you. Today, exciting and stuff. Yes. Resolution to the Page County Board of Supervisors for budget amendments to reallocate FY 2024 funds. Whereas the Board of Supervisors approved the categorical funding of the school budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, and whereas the Page County School Board will exceed the approved 2023-2024 fiscal year budget in the categories of admin, attendance, and health, transportation, and operations and maintenance due to expenditures outlined by the Virginia Department of Education regarding COVID-19 pandemic funding guidelines. And whereas the Page County School Board will exceed the approved 2023-2020 fiscal year budget category for food service, and whereas Virginia State Code allows food service departments to carry a fund balance, which Page County does, and whereas the exceeded amount of $102,831 for food service will be allocated using the approved food service fund balance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Page County School Board does hereby request that the Page County Board of Supervisors reallocate monies with no increase or decrease of local appropriation involved in the amount of $371,499 from instruction to admin, attendance, and health, transportation, and operation and maintenance, as well as appropriate $102,131 of food service fund balance to the food service operational fund for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. The next portion of this is the budget amendment table, which does look a little bit different as it has food service separated on the bottom because that's Fund 2, not Fund 1 operating. This is to certify that the foregoing resolution was authorized by the Page County School Board during its regular session on Thursday, June 27, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the reallocation of 2024 funds.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Painter to approve the reallocation of 2024 funds.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. Dr. Fox, budget amendment?
Yes, so board, I bring to you our FY25 budget amendment. So now that the state has allocated their funds, Ms. Sechrist has done a lot of hard work in the background on the calculation tool that we finally got from the Virginia Department of Ed. I'm going to walk you through, and then we'll ask for your approval of the final budget. Ms. Sechrist will then read to you a resolution for that budget that we will then send to the Board of Supervisors and the county. They will then take that, and on July 15th, we will get approval. We're going to be optimistic and all of that. So our first slide tonight just brings us back every single time to what's our why. It's our students, and our budget is a student-based need budget. And we're required by law, and you all as a fiscal agent of that are required to have a zero-based, needs-based budget every year. So we just remember our why as we go through this process. Just as a quick reminder, because this will be how we present these funds to you, there are 3 primary funding sources. The Commonwealth of Virginia, we always refer to them as the state. You'll hear us say the locality or the local funding source, that's the county page, and the Board of Supervisors. And then you have the federal government and the other, which are just some miscellaneous sources of funding that we have. There's 3 primary allocated areas. And so you'll hear those again. Just want to remind you, Fund 1 is our operating budget. That's our biggest chunk. Fund 2 is our capital improvements, and Fund 5 is nutritional services. So we're going to spend the majority of our time on Fund 1. So in terms of amended revenues, we are very excited that when the governor and the General Assembly came back together and met, they did some things that really helped K-12 education. And because of our LCI and because of our population and some of our students that are at risk, we were the benefactors of that. So you can see what we're going to give you tonight is from what you adopted back in May to now what we're asking for approval as an amendment. So you can see there that there's an increase of $1.3 million. Now, not all of that is money that we get to spend. I'll show you that in just a minute, but we do want to thank our state legislators and our governor for moving those funds into public education. This is my first time as a superintendent in education in a long time where we've seen this kind of influx of funding. So we're grateful for it. In terms of federal funding that goes into Fund 1, you'll see there's no change, no difference from what you adopted a few months ago to what's there now. And again, overall from last year to this year, remember this is the one where you saw a little bit of a decrease because of the loss of all that federal pandemic funding.
Right.
So, that's not budgeted money that we had to find a new place for. And then other funding in Fund 1 is $615,000, and that's things like the lease agreements that we have and other funds that we just generate through some things. So that money is not changed either from when you adopted it in May. Our local funding has changed a little bit, and that is due, if you recall, when we adopted our budget in May. At that period and that date, the Board of Supervisors had agreed and passed their budget to afford us an additional $500,000 towards our operating budget. They then agreed to do the state compensation increase of 3%, their local share. So that $255,180 that you see, that is the local portion of the 3% compensation increase. So in order to access the $500,000 that the state is giving us for compensation for staff, we have to have a local match to that. So again, we're grateful to them for not only the additional funding of the $500,000, but to come through for us with the funding for the raise and to give us the okay, the verbal okay that we could write those contracts that included that 3%. So we are grateful to the Board of Supervisors for that. So in terms of amended revenue by source, all those things I just laid out for you, you can see the adopted, the amended. That gives us a total just in Fund 1 of $44,210,317. And so that's just over $1.5 million difference than when you adopted in May. Okay, so good news. Yeah, I'm happy as a superintendent to be able to say that to you. And when we met with the Board of Supervisors on Wednesday, we were happy to say to them that we were able to say that we had state funds. We didn't have to ask them for additional positions or to cover some of the things that we needed to be able to move forward. So it was nice to be able to say we had some state funding to be able to take some of the burden off of that. Capital improvements. So this is your Fund 2. You see a balance there of $258,000. That is the remaining, if you recall, 2 years ago, we got $1.8 million in school construction funding from the state. That is essentially almost all spent. This is just the little bit of remaining money. We were allowed to carry that over. That will be spent within the next 2 months. It's already allocated. We just have to now move it into the next fiscal year. So that money is there. That money will be gone. There won't be any more of that money left. Our hope is that as we go forward and present the capital improvement plan next year when we write our budget, there may be some state funding, but there'll also be some local funding in this particular. And then nutritional services revenue from when we adopted in May to now, there's no change in that. So this just shows you, this next chart shows you that amended revenues by source. So that Fund 1 operating is at $44,210,317. That $258,000 that's there for Fund 2, and then there's no change in the Fund 5. Any questions about any of that so far? So that's what we got. Now we're going to talk about how we're going to spend it.
Can I say something there? When I read this resolution after she's finished, you're gonna see it's worded a little bit differently for that 258,000, that it is going to increase local funding because they have already received those funds. The county has that money from the two, so you'll see that where that's going to actually, it'll say at the end now, it will increase that, but that's because they have those funds already.
You just want them to disperse them to us.
Right, right. And you'll see that a couple more times this year too, as we move forward with that all-in funding that we received this year, that 1.3 that's for 3 years. You'll see that again probably in August, where we'll take that money and ask for that to be reappropriated again into this budget year. But I wanted to make you guys aware when I read that, it will sound a little bit different. Since it was displayed as state money, so I can receive that.
So in terms of our amended expenditures, we're going to start with the compensation increase, which is 3% total average of 3%. It's a 2% raise and a step. So the state contribution, so coming out of that 1.3 million is right off the top is $505,000. That's their contribution towards that compensation increase. Again, that local contribution there of $255,180. So in total, that entire compensation increase is costing $760,000. So again, grateful to the state and to the locality to be able to give that compensation increase. Additional amended costs, these are sort of the ones that we have to pay. We don't really have much of a choice. Our health insurance, so this is the one you were talking about a little bit earlier, Mr. Overfeld. That is the one, unfortunately, that had the 11% increase, so that's a cost of $610,000, almost $611,000. Utilities and contracts, that's the 10% that we go ahead and over time, using those historical amounts, we go ahead and increase those amounts each year. And then SVRP is the Shenandoah Valley Regional Program for Special Education. Because of some additional needs there, we needed to place some additional funds there. So those amended costs come to $857,000. So between the salary compensation and your amended, almost all of your money is. So in terms of positions, using those additional state funds, we are going back to that priority list that we spent some time doing, and we had talked all along that because of an increase in the number of students that English is not their first language and they need supports, we needed another teacher because we had reached the threshold of SOQ requirements. So that teacher is here. Additionally, because of additional special education students that need support, we need another position. So that teacher is there. One of the requests that was on the list was to add a counselor for our alternative education program. So we've managed to work some things out where we have a split position. We only need to fund half of that split position. So that's what that 35,000 is, half of that 70,000. Counselors are considered under teacher contract. So we use the amount of 70,000. We are going to use all-in grant funding to cover some of those other positions that we wanted, but we don't have the funding either from the state or from the locality. So those reading specialist positions and those elementary student support positions, we're going to fund those through the all-in grant funding. Our goal will be over the next 2 years when that funding starts to deplete to move that into our local budget and have it as positions. We're still holding out hope that there's a possibility that some of that reading specialist funding will come through the Virginia Literacy. So we'll bring those positions back to you next year, try to get them back in the budget.
Where are those teachers located? I know the
Which
ones
ones?
that, all of them, English, special ed.
So the English language, we currently have one. So adding a second one, we're going to create a northern and a southern, and so they'll serve the schools in those areas.
Okay.
And then the special education teacher right now is earmarked for Shenandoah Elementary. because of the increase in the number of students there. The alternative ed, that will be for the 9 through 12 program, so it'll be at the tech center.
And I'll tell you, that tech center split is very important because that allows Ms. Pettit to really do her job versus trying to wrangle children. Wrangle, that's a wrong word. Work with
Support.
support. More true, it's very true, but it might not be.
No, and I think, Mr. Painter, to your point, this is the exciting part of being able to say that we have additional state funding, is to be able to say that we can add these positions. We've had positions last year, we had positions and we couldn't fund any of them because we couldn't get the state or the local funding. So to be able to have these 3 positions and do this, and be able to do the health insurance increase, this is kind of a really big deal. To use kid speak, it's a big deal.
Well, I'm glad we had the opportunity to do that prioritization. I think that helped a lot.
Well, advocating as well. I mean,
Yeah.
getting with the board of supervisors, us going to Richmond,
Yeah.
Mr. Obashane's office,
Yeah.
talking about some of these things. He was like, right on, I understand it now, you know. So,
Yeah, the fruits of all those conversations, you're seeing them here, and for us to be able to say now to our one EL teacher, hey, we've got you some support, is huge. And for those kids to then get the support that they need in the
Right.
classes is huge. That's gonna make their outcomes even greater. So this is a win-win all the way around. Again, I wish we could fund everything that we want, but we can't. So additional compensation. So with a little bit of this additional money, we are recommending that we put a compensation increase for all classified staff. And we had talked about this as a priority with our compensation. And we think this is important. We've got to get those folks up and pay them more. And this will add an additional amount to every contract. So what you're seeing there is the overall cost to add an additional $1,000 to every classified staff contract.
okay, so every classified staff contract will get $1,000. Okay, because I've already heard about, because I know what our priorities were discussed. I've been told what it is, and it's nowhere close to any kind of increase. But now this is going to be $1,000 over, which is great.
So it's the 2% in the step plus an additional 1,000.
Gotcha.
In many cases, it raises, it's almost $1 an hour increase for most of the staff, if not more than that. I'd love for that to be more. We had wrangled some, let me use your word, wrangled some
Wrangled,
numbers
yeah.
to try and get it to be more, but this is a place where we can meet and we can get everybody. Now, we're gonna come back. It doesn't mean we stop moving and trying to get more, but we feel like this is at least an attempt to get there. $1,000 is gonna make a difference for some people.
I think it's important that, Dr. Johnson, you captured this increase in your chart that you did with the comparison across the region. That was a very good comparative analysis.
So he'll do the same
again.
thing,
Yep.
Yeah.
we'll look at where, because there are divisions that have done 5%, raises and things. So we'll look at where we are, and I do think the addition of this money will help in some regards. And it is, again, for all classified staff. And we've given you a list there of those staff.
What's most important about this for the classified staff tend to be the staff that live here.
Right.
Tend to be a local workforce group that they don't make enough to commute to Harrisonburg City. And so to say, we want you here and we want to give you as much as we can. It's very important.
It's a great gesture.
So there was a little bit left over, about $48,000. It's not enough for another position. And we couldn't spread it out across all classified staff. So 2 things that we had been trying to do for a while, we just never, again, had the money to do it. We've added those in. So they weren't in our original conversations, but we brought them to you because we think they're really feasible things. And again, in the benefit of students. So one would be to increase the coaches' pay. So this is all of our coaches who receive pay to serve in that role across all seasons, all sports, would be to do a 15% increase. And we chose 15% because that matches over the last 3 years the pay increases that we've had for our regular salary compensations. You recall it was 5, 7, and now it's 3. So the 2% is in there from Patty, it was, the other 2% was added this past year, right? So it gets us to that 15%. So to increase everybody by that 15% will cost us $28,000. So we're including that in there. It's been in my talking to folks to try and find when the last time there was an increase. It's been more than a decade. So I think this is overdue as an acknowledgement, because those folks are oftentimes putting in multiple hours in those. And this will include some of those academics. So the VHSL, like the forensics and the debate, it'll include those guys as well, and ladies, guys and women. That they'll be included in there. So while we have it labeled athletics, it's technically those activities that people are giving hours and hours and hours. The second one has come as a request, and these actually came organically from the kids at these two schools, that they wanted these programs to be able to have them at their own schools. And they've done interest meetings, they've talked with parents and things like that. So the schools have done all the legwork to make sure that this can happen, and it really is a true need and a request. So we'd like to add the addition of 2 sports. We'll add winter track at Page County High School. That will give both high schools a winter track program, and then we would add wrestling at Luray High School. And again, that will add now a wrestling program at both of our high schools. And that, it's a little bit more than the 20,000 that's here, but that's the last of the money that we have here. So we'll work through, it's about 10,000 more. And that cost could be dependent on, like, we have to purchase wrestling mats. We've got an estimate, we hopefully can get them cheaper than what we think, so things like that. So
So that number includes the coaches' pay?
includes the coaches' pay, it includes uniforms, it includes transportation, and it includes any equipment that might be needed,
Wow, that's,
like wrestling
And
mats,
entry fees.
Transportation?
and entry fees for competitions.
Transportation?
Those sports, typically they're doing 4 or 5 invitationals. So it's not like basketball where they're playing
2 or 3 times a
15 road games.
Right. But that, the number we just talked about, 497, didn't include transportation. Or
Correct.
heating of the buildings or all those other things.
We've tried to just kind of figure out what we think it would be to travel those 4 or 5 times there and back. The other thing would be, a wrestling team may not need a bus, so they could take one of those activity vans. right?
Yeah.
So the costs are not quite as high.
And your track athletes already have uniforms of another running season. So there's a lot of things that played out, and these both very beneficial activities to add.
And we found out that you aren't required anymore in wrestling to have a singlet. You can wrestle in a t-shirt and shorts. So again, cheaper than buying the singlets. Now, they can use the singlet if they want to, but they aren't required to. So there's some cost savings there in terms of. So all of those things, the classified adjustment, the athletic coaches pay adjustment, and the addition of those 2 sports is an additional $294,000. So when you look at all of that, you put it all together, the compensation adjustments for, that's the 2% and the step for the 3% average. The additional costs, that's your health insurance, your increase to services, your special ed, those new staff positions, your EL teacher, your SPED teacher, your school counselor, and then the additional compensation pieces for the coaches, 2 sports, and the classified. All of that comes to $2,088,175. Okay? So that then brings us to, what would our final amended budget be, taking all of that and knowing that we have to have a zero balance budget, so we can't expend or propose that we even expend more than we have. For Fund 1, you would have the $44,210,317. For Fund 2, you'll have the $258,000, and nutritional services will be $2,137,171. So I would ask tonight respectfully that you will approve a budget of $46,605,488. So what's next? What we need, one is a motion to approve the amended budget. And then what will happen from there is Seacrest, it will read another resolution for you. And then tomorrow we will send that resolution to the Board of Supervisors. They will meet on July 15th. We will go to that meeting. We'll be prepared to answer any questions. I am going to follow up with them with a letter that explains how we're using the state funding, because I think it's important for them to see that it's positions and it's compensation and it's the things that we have prioritized. And then our hope is on the 15th that they approve everything as is and don't change any of the allocations. And then we would be able to, at that point, we would rewrite the contracts for those classified employees, and anybody that's 12 months, we would do like we did last year. That would be retroactive for July. So again, I just, yeah, I think I would love for you guys to be there to join us. I'll send you a reminder. But again, we appreciate your efforts in the budget, your conversations. We've spent a lot of time together talking about things. We've asked you guys to have homework assignments, but just know we appreciate you being involved in the process and being committed and having outside conversations with board of supervisors members as well. So thank you. And again, we respectfully request the approval of an FY25 amendment.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the FY25 amended budget as presented this evening.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Spook and a second by Mr. Oberfeld to approve the amended FY25 budget as presented tonight. Are there any questions?
Yes.
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 Thank you guys so much.
Ms. Seacrest, you're up.
I will read this resolution into the record. Resolution to the Page County Board of Supervisors requesting adjustment of the 2024-2025 school budget for additional state revenue and capital improvement project allocation. Whereas the Page County Board of Supervisors adopted the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget based on the projected governor's biennial budget, and whereas the governor's biennial budget adopted on May 13th, 2024 shows an increase in state operating funding for Page County Public Schools. And whereas the additional revenue will exceed the original estimated budget for 2024-2025 by $1,313,497. Whereas $505,190 of the additional state operating funds are allocated for compensation supplements. And whereas the Page County Board of Supervisors agreed in May 6th, 2024 meeting to provide $255,180 of local match funding for compensation supplements. And whereas the Page County Public Schools was awarded a technology grant for 2024-2025 of $75,971. And whereas the technology grant funds were received in June 2024. And whereas the Page County Public Schools request technology grant funds of $75,971 received in 2024 be appropriated for 2024-2025. And whereas the governor's biennial budget does not provide state capital improvement plan funding for Page County Public Schools in 2024-2025, and whereas the state school construction funding of $1,805,817 was received in 2022-2023, and whereas the Page County Public Schools request state school construction funding of $258,000 received in 2022-2023 to complete capital improvement projects in 2024-2025. And now therefore be it resolved that the Page County School Board respectfully requests the Page County Board of Supervisors to appropriate $1,313,497 in additional state funding included in the budget approved by the school board on June 27, 2024, with no changes to the local appropriation, as well as $255,180 for local match funding and state compensation supplement, $75,000, not $7,971 of technology grant, and $258,000 of school construction funds for capital improvement projects, which would increase local appropriations. We go to the next page, and there are three separate tables. The first is that operating of additional state and local monies. The second is the technology grant that was received just recently this year to be used in 2025, as well as the last table for Fund 2 capital improvement project that was received in 2022-2023 that we requested for use in 2024-2025. This is to certify that the foregoing resolution was authorized by the Page County School Board during its regular session on Thursday, June 28, 2020.
Thursday, June 27th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, what day did I have it?
I think it was,
Oh, yes, I was already ready for the end of the week. Sorry, I'll update that before I send it, the 27th. Apologize. Thank you. Thursday, June 27th. That's the end of the year already. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution as read.
Second.
we have a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Smith and a second by Ms. Albert to approve the resolution as read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yes. Board member comments, discussion?
Well, I'll start off by saying, wow. Thanks to everybody who had a part in making this budget for the 24-25 school year. The communication, I think, that went on this year, and it probably has every year, but input from board members, students with the two sports, looking into what coaches, when was the last time they got it? I mean, the whole gamut. And the meetings with the Board of Supervisors. And I just think this is really exciting. And to say thanks to everyone is not enough, but just know what it means. So again, you're to be commended for all the time, effort, communication, the whole 9 yards. And that's everybody in this room plus everybody outside. So job well done.
I just want to give a big thank you to our team, to our local representatives, the Board of Supervisors, and then our state representatives. It is awesome to see those numbers increase rather than decrease. And I really believe that when we invest in our youth today, it saves us money and maybe even makes us money, for our community and our state in the future. So just a big thank you to everybody.
Congratulations on the expenditure of all the ESSER funds. I thought that was, you took it right down to the last 29 cents, I believe. So
Yes.
that's good. It's pretty amazing. I'm also really glad to see I didn't really even know we were putting phones in the rooms. I think that's fantastic. I think that actually could be a major part of our future cell phone policies. Very significant impact on that. The budget, everybody who helped in the budget, that was pretty awesome work. And I think the meetings we had with the Board of Supervisors, I'd just like to, I'd like for us to continue that. I know we talked about it when we did it. We kind of lost the bubble on that because there's so many things going on. You can only got to prioritize. But once they get back in session, I think it's important that we continue that maybe quarterly if we could, interaction with the Board of Supervisors so that we can keep them engaged and informed as to how well I believe we are executing the budget and the needs and so forth that come up in the county. So, just, yeah, so that's all I have to say. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said. It's a lot of work that you guys already know about, and you've been very busy, and thank you. And I know that everybody appreciates the increase. That's a big deal to everyone. Every position is greatly needed, and a big thanks to our supervisors who they are seeing that as well and matching us and meeting us where we need to be. Of course, on the state level, that's always exciting, but like Dr. Fox said, that's not something that she has seen. So that's good stuff. We're moving in the right direction.
Well, when I started in 2019 or 2020, teachers hadn't got a raise 24 out of the 30-some years. One teacher I was talking to, so it was 24 out of 32. There was 8 years there with raise, all that. And we've gotten a raise every year. And we've also used metrics. That's the power of a metric. It tells you where you got to focus, right? So we knew we were low on the classified, and we worked on that, worked with the bus drivers, and getting things up. So we're doing things that are smart and equal. So great job on that. I think our board did a real good job with the Board of Supervisors this year. Particularly some people did a great job with it. advocating, which I appreciate, and us being involved, going to Williamsburg, going to Richmond. Those things are important, getting in front of Mr. Delegate Gilbert, Senator Obenshain. He's sitting there and he's just like, his eyes were wide open. We were talking about what we needed. And he was going into a meeting, I think, right within 10 minutes, right? He had to go down there. So it's really good stuff to do. That stuff, being involved is important. I think, Dr. Fox, you've done a great job on getting that together. I think we lost some credibility early on with the Board of Supervisors. I know we did. They made some comments to me, but I think we've regained ourselves a little bit with that. I still don't get that categorical funding, but it's what it is. I think one thing I'd like to put on Dr. Fox on the radar is the surveys that went out. I'd like to see some information about that. There's schools and different things. Also, policy on hiring. Dr. Johnson, Dr. Fox, I'd love to see some information about, how we post something, what we consider required. And sometimes we don't always get the candidates that we need that meet all those qualifications, and then we make decisions to go a different route. I think going through that process and policy with us a little bit, and I don't even know if there's a policy on it, but I know you have a different hiring policy than what the previous administration had. And I think as a school board, we govern that. Policy is what we govern. I would love to see us start incorporating some of those things and how we kind of look at them and different things, because this group's not going to stay together forever. Things change as Gabby's gone someplace else now, right? So just being able to be consistent with it and leaving it for the next board can decide whether they want to change the policy. But I think having some information about that, it's going to help people that want to get hired into our system, and when decisions are made, we can understand what those decisions are. So I would encourage getting something on that as well. But other than that, great meeting. Appreciate all the work on the budget. Sure. And getting things down, spending the money that you have. It's wonderful. Yeah, a lot of winks and
We got
nods
some
all through the
really good
year.
Stuff too. Like we tried to make sure it was purposeful
Right.
spending. That's
Yeah.
my biggest push as I've been in this role. I want things to be purposeful. I don't want it to be
You want
something that's
impact.
going to sit in the corner.
Yep.
And when we reached out to those schools and teachers, that was the statement I used. What items could you use that are student instructional led items? Things that the kids are going to hold in their hands and utilize when you're teaching a lesson and that sort of thing. That's really going to make that lesson stand out and stick with them as they read through.
Well, it's a colloquialism, but I think we're getting our bang for our buck here, which is cool.
It's empowerment, right? Engagement. Well,
I'm excited to see some of the stuff we've purchased and used this coming school year.
They pretty much summed it up. I get to go last because then I don't have to say anything. So, but no, I echo everything they said. And really, I think it boils down to communication. And I feel like this board has done that. You all do that all the time. Like this is what can happen when there's constant open communication and we listen to each other and we talk about decisions and, we take it to the next level. I do think it helped when we went to the state. I think it helped us talking to the Board of Supervisors and we continue to build those relationships. So it's always about relationships and communication. And I think we've got, you all have an amazing team and it's fun to sit on this board. So thank you. Nice to have another budget with even more money.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Jackie.
Yes.
Good move. Good move. Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.